Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome to my channel, I Hate Rock Music. And today I thought I would do something that's kind of a fun exercise for me. I chose the best 25 live rock concerts I've ever seen, and I'm excluding jazz concerts. So I've seen some pretty amazing jazz shows as well. And also my introduction to live rock was interesting to say the least. My first exposure to a live rock band was a outdoor picnic here in Seattle in 1967. And I saw a local band, Springfield Rifle, play, and I was completely mesmerized because I'd never seen a live band before, and to listen to records and then actually go out and see a band playing music that was recognizable to me and was just enthralled. And so I was totally excited about seeing live music after that, but I didn't get too many opportunities. My dad was in the military, so we moved around a lot and lived on military bases. Wasn't really always convenient to go out and see a show. Plus, I was young, so I always had to ask my dad to drive me and my friend Chuck to see concerts. And so they were few and far between at first. So I saw Springfield Rifle in 1967. And then in 1968, I saw the Osmond Brothers at the Puyallup Fair. And that was kind of the first big show I saw with an actual stage and an audience of a few thousand. And I saw the Osmonds, and it was pretty fun. It wasn't really my kind of music, but it was interesting to see another live show. And then my introduction to live shows was in August of 1968. My best friend Brent had a sister who had a boyfriend, and he was 16. And for my birthday, he got us tickets to go see Blue Cheer at the Eagles Auditorium here in Seattle. And I went and saw that show and was completely blown away. Not only was I in a crowded room with a couple thousand people and a bunch of hippies that were a lot older than me, and so I felt really out of place. And then the whole place was full of pot smoke. I didn't really know what pot was in 1968. I didn't really discover it until 1969. And so to go to this place and be surrounded by all these older hippies and all this pot smoke was one thing, but then to uh, see the onslaught of Blue Cheer in 1968 was just an incomparable experience. It felt dangerous, and I was completely overwhelmed by how loud it was. And so I didn't really fully understand what I was seeing, but I knew it was big, and it changed my whole life. And I still haven't seen too many amp stacks as big as the ones on that stage that day. But that changed everything for me. And then I didn't see another live show again until 1970 when I saw Iron Butterfly, and that completely opened the doors, and I started seeing concerts regularly. And so I'm going to list off my top 25 rock concerts of all time. And I want to point out too that I did a list, and I'll post it below, of all the bands I've seen live in my lifetime, and it's probably close to 300 bands, maybe more, and even more concerts in total, maybe 400 to 500 concerts, because I saw Cheap Trick 40 times, for example, and I saw Nirvana 20 times, and I saw a lot of local bands many times. But I'll post that list below, and you can take a gander. But I saw a lot of great concerts, and a lot of them were really incredible. But there's 25 that really stand out in my mind that I listed out. And these aren't in any particular order, so I'll just run through them. And I'm not going to rate them either. The best concert I've seen back to the down to number 25 being less important than the first concert I list. It's just a running list of all the concerts that I've seen that were just amazing and just blew me away and still stick in my mind. So let's get to it. Number one, Captain Beefheart at the Showbox in 1981, touring for Doc the Radar Station, and it was incredible for me to finally see Captain Beefheart, one of my favorite artists and one of my favorite albums, Doc at the Radar Station, and to see that show was incredible. And I was so close that I could have polished Don Van Vliet's shoes. And so that was an incredible show. And then also in 1981, I saw Gang of Four at the same place at the Showbox, and I saw them the year following too in '82. But they just had such incredible energy, and it was so danceable, and they were just at the top of their game, and totally unforgettable show. Um, Number three, in 1994, I saw Drive Like Yahoo at the Crocodile here in Seattle. I've hardly ever seen as much energy burst off a stage. Just magnificent, and they put on such a show just because they were so active, and the music was so electric. Their two guitar work, just stunning to see live, and I'll never forget those shows because even in the midst of all the great Seattle bands I've seen and other shows, just an amazing amount of energy. Number four is Cheap Trick in Vancouver, 1979. Yeah, so in 1979, they were actually what I would consider the best live rock band in the world. And I saw the show here in Seattle, but for some reason, driving up to Vancouver, Canada to see them, they had a much bigger audience. The sound was perfect. Their set list was incredible. They were at the top of their game. Just a blow-away concert. Number five, 1977, Led Zeppelin at the Kingdome. Unfortunately, the only time I ever got to see Led Zeppelin, and the sound wasn't that great, and they weren't necessarily at the top of their game, but just the fact that I saw Led Zeppelin makes it one of the most memorable concerts I've ever seen. Number six, 1979, Blue Oyster Cult at the Arena here in Seattle. And again, that wasn't the peak era for Blue Oyster Cult in a lot of ways, but they were at the top of their game. They had an incredible laser show, and at that point, seeing them was like seeing a lot of hits because I knew all their songs so well. And that was the second time I'd seen him. I'd seen him in 1973 opening for Sly and the Family Stone in Virginia Beach. And that was a cool show. But for some reason, that show in '79 at the Arena was just, for me, total ecstasy, seeing Blue Oyster Cult at the top of their game. Number seven was Grand Funk Railroad at Virginia Beach in 1971, E Pluribus Funk tour, and they were just amazing. Total great live band. It was like a religious experience. Black Oak, Arkansas opened the show, and the sound, as loud as it was, the sound was perfect. And of course, the material they were doing that tour was incredible, and they were definitely one of my favorite bands in 1971. So seeing them at the top of their game was incredible. 1972, seeing Alice Cooper in Virginia Beach. Just seeing Alice Cooper again, one of my very favorite bands, maybe my favorite band in 1972, and to see them in all their glory in the Schools Out tour was incredible. Ursa Major, another band I totally love, opened the show. Number nine, in 1973, I saw Deep Purple at William & Mary College for the Who Do We Think We Are tour, and they were great. Certainly they were in their waning days with that particular lineup, but incredible show, great band. I don't need to sell anybody on them. And then the real beauty of it was Buddy Miles was supposed to open the show, and once we got in and sat down, they announced that Buddy Miles wasn't going to be there, and I got to see Rory Gallagher and Ronnie James Dio's Elf open the show, and I love both those artists too. So that triple bill was definitely one of the greatest concerts I've seen in my life. Number 10 is 1971, seeing the Allman Brothers at the Virginia Beach Dome, and I wasn't a huge fan. I went to see Cactus. Cactus opened for them at that show, and Cactus was unbelievable. But the Allman Brothers, after seeing that show, I became a huge fan. It was just such a powerful performance. The band at the top of their game, and I got to see Duane Allman, so that was really incredible. Number 11, the New York Dolls at my father's place in 1974. So I kept reading about all the new bands popping up in New York, but I couldn't really make a trip all the way down to New York City to see many of these bands. So I was really happy that the New York Dolls ended up playing at this club that was further up the Hudson River where I lived. And so I got to go see that show, and needless to say, in 1974 they were at the top of their game. Too Much Too Soon was out, and they were great. Just loved it. I loved that I actually got to see them in their prime. Number 12, in 1983, I saw Mission of Burma at the Roscoe Louie Gallery here in Seattle, and I totally love that band, and they were super loud, and it was in their prime, and there's probably only a couple hundred people there to see them, but to see a band I love so much in such a small venue, and one of my all-time favorite bands, was truly amazing. Number 13 in 1995, I saw Chris Whitley at the OK Hotel, and he ended up playing three sets, three shows, 3 nights in a row. And a friend of mine told me, "Oh, you got to go see this guy. He has a new album out called Din of Ecstasy, which is one of the all-time great rock albums." And Chris Whitley doing a power trio, and it was amazing. The sound was so great. He was so loud. He was so full of energy. I always remember the fact that every time they would stop a song, he'd light up a cigarette and smoke a couple of puffs and then spit out the cigarette when he got into the next song. But unforgettable. Glad I got to see him before he passed away. Number 14, 1995, I saw Jeff Buckley at the Backstage here in Seattle. And needless to say, Jeff Buckley was a total giant. I was completely blown away by his album Grace and was a huge, huge fan. And going to see that show was a total religious experience. All the beauty and wonder of what Jeff Buckley could do, and it almost felt like going to church. Truly incredible. Number 15, in 1982, I saw the Bad Brains at the Golden Crown. U-Men opened the show, and the Bad Brains were just unbelievable. I couldn't believe that I was seeing them in their prime. And the show was kind of funny because they played about an hour of their dub and reggae material, and the crowd was really getting restless. And then they shifted gear and went into a 20-minute hardcore set that was astounding, as everyone knows about the Bad Brains. There's unequaled as a punk band, and they were just glorious that night. Number 16, in 1980, I drove all the way to San Francisco, Oakland, California, from here in Seattle to see the original Public Image for the Metal Box Tour. And they crammed about, I don't know how many people, maybe 2,000, into a very small venue. So it was just, people were packed in there like sardines, and it felt very dangerous. But to see them, the Metal Box Tour with Jaw Wobble, was incredible. The bass rattled the entire building, and Flipper opened the show. I don't think I've ever seen as much shit thrown at a stage as I did that night when Flipper played. Everybody was picking up everything they could find on the floor to throw at the band, but Public Image, as you would suspect, were magnificent. Definitely one of my favorite bands of all time as well. And to drive all the way down there to see the original band was well worth it. Number 17, in 1981, I saw King Crimson at the Showbox for the Discipline Tour, and needless to say, they were magnificent. The first tour of that new lineup of the band, and I was always sad that I missed the John Wetton era of King Crimson, although I did see the 1971 version of King Crimson opening for Humble Pie. But just magnificent. And I always laugh because I got in a car wreck on the way to the show, and I just left my car there, hopped on a bus, and went down there and made the show, and it was wonderful. Number 18, Blue Cheer at the Eagles Auditorium in 1968. So I already told that story, but that was my first official concert. Totally blew my little teenage mind, and set a standard for the rest of my life. Number 19, 1971, Humble Pie in Virginia Beach. It was the first tour with Clem Clemson, and they were so powerful and so loud. It was just wondrous. And that time I saw them, King Crimson and Alexis Corner opened the show. And it was great because that particular show, they just came out in their jeans and their shirts and their amp stacks and just completely tore the roof off the place. And then I saw them a year and a half later at the same place in 1973 for the Eat It tour. And of course, they all had platform shoes and velvet pants and a leopard skin coat, and the whole PA system was white, and there was a huge backdrop, and they had the Blackberry Singers. But both shows were really great. I totally loved that band at the time, but I went and saw them the first time because Performance Rockin' the Fillmore was out. Incredible record, one of my favorite live albums of all time, and I got to see the band, and they were everything I thought they would be. Number 20, in 1978, I was in Virginia Beach working for Peaches Records. I saw the Patti Smith Group at a tavern, and there was probably only 100 people there, and they weren't really that into punk rock per se. And Patti Smith and the band put on an hour and a half show and completely tore the place apart. I love the fact that she was jumping on all these picnic tables that people were sitting at, and she'd walk down the picnic table and push the beers over into the laps of some of these big-haired Virginia girls that were there to see the show. So she didn't make any friends, but incredible to see her at that point in time in such a small, tiny little place. Number 21 in 1984, I think the year was. I saw Prince at the Tacoma Dome for the Purple Rain tour, and magnificent 2 hours with just extended guitar solos on everything. And of course, it was the Purple Rain tour, so I saw him at the height of his career, and all those great songs, and it was just an incredible show. Number 22 is Nirvana at the Lane Fest in 1989 at the Moore Theater. It was the first time I'd seen them in a large hall, and they completely tore the place up. And I bought a T-shirt at the show, and I bought the Bleach album at the show, and I regret that I couldn't get into the mosh pit because I had to carry my brand new Nirvana album around with me. But definitely one of the coolest times I'd seen him up to that point. Number 23, 1992, I saw Neil Young at the arena here in Seattle with Sonic Youth opening. So it was a crazy, loud, electric show for Neil Young with endless, long guitar solos, incredibly loud, and then seeing Sonic Youth open for him. So that was a great one. And then number 24, Nirvana again at the Paramount Theater in 1992. Nevermind was out. They were at the top of their game. To see him at the Paramount was great. I didn't get to see them in very many big shows, so to see him at the Paramount was definitely a dream come true, and they completely delivered. I don't need to sell anybody on that. And the last one, I mean, there's a lot of concerts I could include, but I'll conclude with number 25 was the Japanese noise band Melt Banana at a little club called the Sit and Spin. So there's about 100 people there, and in 1991, and they just completely tore the place apart. If you've heard Melt Banana, then you know what I saw live that year. Just mind-boggling concert. Their music is mind-boggling. They were super loud, and it was truly incredible. So anyway, well, kind of like a few videos I've done, I'm kind of bragging a little bit of all the shows I've seen, and those are the ones that stand out in my mind as the greatest rock concerts that I saw. And I'll post the list below of all the bands I saw live, although there's probably a few things missing because I did it from memory. But I definitely have seen a shitload of live rock bands in my life, and sometimes wonder if I could have spent my life a little better than all the money I spent on booze and drugs and rock concerts and all the records. And so, but now I have the memories, and I'm wrapping them all up here in a video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed my brief and quick sharing of these experiences and these great live shows I saw. I feel very blessed. There's only a handful of bands that I didn't end up seeing live that I would have liked to, but the ones I have seen, I'm pretty lucky. So there you have it. I'm Brian Fox. Thanks for watching I Hate Rock Music.